Peter Davison is celebrating 40 years in the TARDIS, and in today's Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama review, I'm going to be taking a look at the first of two celebratory box sets released by Big Finish. In today's review, 40, Volume 1, featuring Peter Davison as the Fifth Doctor, alongside Janet Fielding as Tegan Javanka, Sarah Sutton as Nyssa, and of course Matthew Waterhouse as Adric. This box set is available to order now on the Big Finish website. The physical CD is £19.99 and the download is £16.99, and it will remain at pre-order price up until the end of February 2021. Personally, for me, I was really looking forward to this box set because I think throughout 2021 we've seen a lot of Doctor Who spin-off content, however not too much from the classic series Doctors, or at least that's what it felt like, partly because of recording issues here and there. I do believe for quite a period of time Sylvester McCoy was unable to record at all for Big Finish. We got a few odd classic releases here and there, but it's really nice to be able to see a box set dedicated to a Doctor and their TARDIS team, and I think that this box set in particular is a really nice celebratory box set for the first half of the Fifth Doctor era, Season 19 and Season 20 specifically. So this box set is split into two episodes. We have Secrets of Telos as written by Matt Fitton, which is a four-parter to keep with the style of the Big Finish monthly range that is now sadly no longer with us. And then we have the second episode, which is God of War, as written by Sarah Grocella, and that is only a 1 hour story, so split into two half-an-hour parts. The Secrets of Telos opens this celebratory Fifth Doctor box set in style. It's quite a bold move celebrating a Doctor's era by plonking them in another incarnation setting, and yet for this story it works rather well. Of course, 40 Volume 1 has a rather Second Doctor theme, featuring the return of the Tomb Cybermen and the Ice Warriors. For those who like Tomb of the Cybermen, this story provides some great Cyberman moments. In particular, in the early half of this story, I love how the Cybermats are focused on. By attacking the expedition ship travelling away from the planet of Telos, they actually make for a really powerful threat. A space infestation which has the power to take down a ship entirely. The Cybermen also sound excellent. Nicholas Briggs manages to really keep with the style of 60s Doctor Who, with that snappy, broken, jarring tone. They are such a great balance between human 2.0 and a sinister, augmented voice. It's quite a stark difference to the 80s Cybermen, usually paired with the Fifth Doctor, which have quite a considerable amount of sass for an emotionless race. Returning to the themes of Tomb of the Cybermen allows us to explore the legend the Cybermen have created for themselves after the Cyber Empire, starting out with two academics, Vansom and Professor Parry, theorising about the planet of Telos. The Fifth Doctor's TARDIS team is one of rather bold personalities, and in particular for this episode, I like how it uses the Doctor. He must tread on all paths, remembering the events of Tomb, whilst interacting with the TARDIS team which are not the true Nyssa and Tegan which he knows, whilst also, for once, not being the most knowledgeable person in the room, and I find this really interesting. Davison, Sutton and Fielding offer some great performances, and I'm really starting to warm to their dynamic. The Big Finish writing teams have really gave this era some much needed attention in recent years, focusing on various character arcs and emotional challenges. In particular with the recent Mark trilogy that actually explores the emotional implications of Adric's death, which the TV show hardly even touches. I was nervous that the concept of 40 would stray a little too close to the territory of the Mark trilogy. However, I'm pleasantly surprised that this box set does something very different. If anything, it really builds on the Fifth Doctor's character. The first half of this story is a regular base under siege with elements of traditional classic Who, yet it really managed to keep me hooked. The second half sees the team crash land on a world close to Telos, yet be very different. In my opinion, all four parts of this serial really flew by. It took me out of day-to-day life, and I felt engaged within the adventure. And speaking as someone who's just came out of a rather stressful exam season, I really appreciate that. The Doctor must face the grim reality of human obsession with doing what they believe is right, simply to prove others wrong. When people's minds are so tainted by ideas, it blinds them from reality, such as presenting an obsession with Cybermen and seeing them as beauty. I really enjoyed this one. All of the elements for Secrets of Talos really came together throughout the story. I think that it put me in a very good mood listening to this episode because it was one of the first ones that I listened to after coming back from my exam period, and it was just really comforting. I found a comfort listening to this TARDIS team because of the dynamic that they have. I think the whole concept of this box set is very intriguing and it kind of challenges the relationship between the Doctor and his companions, but I'm really enjoying seeing them work together. I think that in particular Tegan and Nyssa have become a really brilliant duo with Big Finish, and both of them have a brilliant amount of intelligence between them, although within the TV show I think more than often they didn't really get to shine too much. I think a lot of the stories kind of overshadowed how intelligent these characters are, and although throughout this box set we do have the few occasional jokes to the things that went on TV, such as the likes of trying to get back to Heathrow, I think that Big Finish have really been able to embrace this dynamic and this relationship that we've seen within the 80s TARDIS team and actually develop them beyond sometimes the cardboard cutouts that they were within the TV show itself. As for the Cybermen, I really enjoyed hearing the older Cybermen being back with the Fifth Doctor. I think there's something about the Fifth Doctor and the Cybermen that do not belong to his era that works so well. Of course, most notoriously, one of the best ever Big Finish audio dramas is Spare Parts, and this episode kind of gave me a bit of a similar vibe because we have some rather grim moments throughout this story, in particular in the later half, where we see a few conversions going wrong. And I think that is perhaps one of my only criticisms for this story, in that we could have seen more of the Cybermen. I love the fact that in the early half we had a lot based around the Cybermats, but I would have loved to see just a bit more of the Tomb Cybermen, a bit more interaction with the Doctor, but that doesn't take away from my enjoyment of this story overall, and it's a really strong way to start off this set. Sarah Grochala concludes 40 Volume 1 with God of War, featuring the return of the Ice Warriors. I was actually quite surprised to see that this was only a 1-hour story, rather than a 4-parter following on from the Talos adventure. Having the Ice Warriors against the Vikings is absolutely inspired, and as mentioned within the behind the scenes, I'm surprised that this hasn't happened earlier. The TARDIS team arrive in a snowy landscape on their billionth attempt to try and get to Heathrow Airport. This time we are dealing with the Season 19 TARDIS team, so the very early years for the Fifth Doctor in the presence of Adric, which is a perfect narrative choice following on from the events of Secrets of Talos. The Grand Marshal Ice Warrior is pretending to be a god to the Viking tribe of women, having them dig for something that he wishes to find. I love the way that this story uses the TARDIS team. They work incredibly well together and push the storytelling forward at great speed. Nyssa gets to use her scientific skills that the Doctor really admires, and Tegan gets to the personal side of this adventure with the Viking tribe, whilst Adric gets to put his mathematical skills to good use. Sarah has really used the characters' strengths and gave them all something useful to do, especially given that this story is only 1 hour long. It uses each scene very precisely. It continues to experiment with the Fifth Doctor being in a rather difficult situation and delivers a thoroughly enjoyable story at the same time. The Ice Warriors are also excellently written, especially when they find out that Mars is no longer the planet that they once knew. It's a moment of sympathy matched with one of anger, which makes for a really intriguing listen. Without revealing too much, there are some hostile moments in this story, and this showcases how much of a threat the Ice Warriors can be. I'm actually quite intrigued to see how the Ice Warriors are also written within the upcoming Peladon spin-off box set. Both of the stories within this set I found so easy to follow, being able to visualise them clearly within my mind, as well as not get too confused as to why the characters were doing certain things. I felt engaged within the plots and kept awaiting to hear what was going to happen next. The whole plot arc theme, which I'm purposely not mentioning in detail, simmers in the background really effectively. I really love how it lets us dig into the Doctor's emotions a little more, and I feel more personally connected with 5 having listened to these adventures, and I look forward to hearing where Volume 2 takes this arc next. I think the best thing about the format of this box set is at this point the plot arc is in its very early developments, and as a result both of the stories do not rely completely on this to tell a good adventure. If you are a fan of the Fifth Doctor, I really recommend this box set, but also I recommend this one to the wider audience if you wish to experience some classic Doctor Who adventures. You can listen to both of the stories standalone, but just be prepared to not have a resolution to the overall series plot arc. Both stories stand really strongly as episodes in their own right. I found this box set a really enjoyable listen. I was really pleasantly surprised by it. And now we only need to wait a few months to find out what happens next. Very much like Secrets of Telos, I was really pleasantly surprised of how God of War actually visualised the episode within my mind. I think that it's one of those stories that you can very easily just click play on, sit back and enjoy. Very easily the characters all come to life, you can understand what's going on within the story, and it just makes sense. And again, I like the fact that we're building on the elements within Secrets of Telos, and both of the stories really complement each other in a rather excellent way. I also love the Ice Warrior representation in there as well. I feel like they're one of those monsters that is very well known throughout the Doctor Who universe. However, we don't really get to see too much from them, and it's nice to have episodes the likes of this that do use some of those older traits that we get to see within the Ice Warrior stories, such as them being surrounded by snow, as we see throughout this episode, very much like their original debut story. But at the same time, there's kind of that element of sadness with the Ice Warriors where they have fell asleep or been frozen in the ice for so long, they wake up and they find out that their planet has been completely sort of destroyed beyond recognition, and there is that sense of identity for them, I think, being lost, and them sort of displaying that anger to the rest of the universe. And I think that is quite nice, and it means that for the Ice Warriors, they kind of belong in an unusual category of Doctor Who monster where they can turn aggressive, but it's kind of in backlash to what's happened to their homeworld. So in summary, for 40 Volume 1, I really enjoyed this box set. I think it is two really enjoyable stories, and I loved actually listening to the Fifth Doctor's TARDIS team. They're very quickly going up actually in my appreciation. I think they've become a team that I can kind of rely on to create a good story. I know that when I'm listening to some of their episodes, I'm in for a safe ride, which is really nice, and something that initially when I started to listen to Big Finish wasn't really something I could relate to, but certainly within recent years have had some brilliant stories. So join me in September 2022, which is quite a long way off, as I take a look at 40 Volume 2. And there's not too much we know about this one. So far there is Episode 1, which is The Auton Infinity, as written by Tim Foley. And Tim Foley's one of my favourite writers for Big Finish, so in safe hands there. And then we've got, once again, Nyssa, Tegan and Adric returning, but also, most excitingly, the Brigadier and Turlo. And that is, of course, coming in September. So thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular Doctor Who content from product reviews and audio dramas and much more. So thanks for watching, have a nice day, I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.